Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Monday Lunchtime Digest of March 30th, 2026. I hope everyone had a good weekend. So, today I have a bunch of dates I'm going to throw at you guys. So, the first date I want you to think about is April 24th. So, April 24th, what is that? Well, that is the time period that people have to be able to comment on the new ethics rules by the American Counseling Association. So, in order to go there, you can just go to counseling.org backslash ACA code. And whenever you enter that, then it redirects you to this other page. And here is the ACA Code of Ethics. Again, the comment period is going through April 24th. So you're able to read it here. And then just along the way, if you want to make comments along the way about any of the codes, you can do that. So it has been a while since the last edition came out. And so it is certainly time for the new one to come out. So April 24th is when you'll be able to do that up until that time. So certainly check that out. I'd love to hear what you think about the ethic codes in the comments if you have a chance to read them, see what some of the differences are. Also, the next date to think about is March 26th. And so I know that is passed a few days ago, but that is the date that the Oklahoma legislature had to be able to pass a bill out of the Chamber of Origin. So obviously, if it was a House bill, that it needed to be passed out of the House and sent to the Senate by that date, or vice versa, if it's a Senate bill, pass out of the Senate into the House by that date. And so then the next date to remember is then May 7th. And so May 7th is the deadline for all the bills to be. And so have until May 7th. So looking at our Oklahoma legislative tracker here, and you can go down here and look and see which ones are been passed out of its Chamber of Origin. So here when it says referred for engrossment, that is just meaning that they are writing up the bill, adding any amendments, making the official copy then for the other chamber to vote on. So that has then passed the Chamber of Origin, and it is on its way over to the other chamber. So in this case, over to the Senate. And a good way to look at it, see here it says in committee. That can be a little bit confusing that it doesn't say crossed over yet. It will soon, as soon as it's written up and the engrossment is over. Also, even though it may be engrossed, it doesn't necessarily guarantee that it will go over to the other chamber, because the head of the other chamber has to put it on the schedule, has to allow it to come up for a vote. So there's no guarantee that this one will be voted on in the other chamber, but it's good to hit action there. And this is where you can see where it is at, there in the process. Let's see, looking at some of the other ones here, it says first reading. And so again, that is the first reading of that bill in the opposite chamber. So here it says crossed over, and you can again click actions here and see that it was engrossed to the House from the Senate, and then it had its first reading in the House there on March 26th. So when you look through here, you see that there are a lot of bills that are proceeding. This one is a big one, creating the Department of Child Safety and Wellbeing, which is going to be putting the child welfare and also the Oklahoma Juvenile Bureau, going to be putting it underneath this new department. So that one is proceeding rapidly, going through the legislature. There's another one here, foster care, directing Department of Human Services to extend foster care services to the age of 21, provided that the child, young adult, meets certain criteria. This one is another one, mental health, authorizing court outpatient treatment services. So that one has crossed over. So in looking at that, you can see where they are in the legislative sessions. And again, you can find that out by going to oklahomacounselinginstitute.org and just looking on our legislation page there. All right. So then the next thing, want to make sure that we keep top of mind is all of our upcoming workshops that we have coming up. So the next date to remember is April 4th. And so April 4th is all of our in-person workshops that we'll be having coming up this Saturday. So we have Tiffany Dilworth, who is going to be presenting counseling children in military families, and then also having Kayla Jones on trust-based relational intervention. She's going to be presenting on that. And then the other big date to remember is May 7th, 8th, and 9th. So that is going to be our Summer Super Summit. And you can learn more about the Summer Super Summit by going to summersupersummit.com, seeing all the presenters that are scheduled to present and all the breakout sessions that we're going to be having. This is the first year that we are doing a pre-conference. And so the pre-conference that will be on May 6th will be on trust-based relational intervention. And then, of course, for the other days, we'll have 3 tracks, one for children, one for children and teens, one for adults, and then one for drug and alcohol specific CEUs. And not that you have to stay on the same track the whole time. You can go to whatever workshop you want to, but that's just to make sure that people are able to get all the continuing education and all the different categories that they need and that they might be interested in. So we will have ethics CEUs as well as supervision CEUs. And so to be able to learn more about that and to register, just go to summersupersummit.com and you can learn all about that there. Also, last thing I'd like to point out is that we have our continuing education. We have over 70 on-demand workshops that are all board approved by the Oklahoma Department of Mental Health, the Oklahoma Department for Licensed Social Workers, the Oklahoma Board of Licensed Alcohol and Drug Counselors. All of them are board approved, and we're also an NBCC provider, which is the National Board of Certified Counselors. And so you can get your on-demand courses there, and they are cheaper this year than they were last year. They're actually 12% cheaper this year than they were before. Everything else in life seems to be going up, but yet our courses are cheaper than they were last year, our on-demand courses. And so we want to make these to be high quality and affordable for Oklahoma mental health professionals. Last thing I'd like to share with you today is just to remind you about our free support groups that we have. And so you can learn more about that by going to edmondcounseling.com and then just clicking up here, free support groups. And so we have a couple going on right now. Of course, there's Smart Recovery that is going on. We also have Smart Recovery Family and Friends, our chronic pain support group, and then our relationship loss and divorce support group. And so if you want to learn more about those, just go to edmondcounseling.com. Click on the tab for free support groups, and then you can click here and see the time and date. All of them are in person and online. So you can have your clients either drive up here to Edmond and attend in person, or they can attend online. All right. Well, I hope everyone has a good week. Thank you guys so much, and we will see you later.